So, I want to talk about something that happened recently because I think a lot of people with checking OCD will recognise this. I went away for a few days, nothing dramatic, just a normal trip. And before I left, I did the normal, sensible, responsible, and grown up thing for my OCD. I took pictures doors, taps, switches, and my phone looked less like a holiday album and more like a crime scene investigation. And honestly, at first, it kind of worked. I took the photos and thought, right, this should calm my brain down. Which, if you have OCD, you already know that that's a dangerous thought to have. But the problem was, as I was driving up the road, I suddenly thought, no, I've forgotten something. So I had to go back to the house, which already meant locking the front door twice. And as I drove away, my brain went, did you shut the inner door? I couldn't remember. And it wasn't because I hadn't done it, but it was just because the certainty doesn't stick, setting off. When I finally left the house properly, the OCD wasn't actually too bad, and the journey down to my parents was actually okay. Admittedly, there was a little bit of background noise, like, did you miss anything? In the back of my head, but nothing too overwhelming. And I do remember thinking, oh, this is good, I'm handling this well. Yeah, okay. Famous last words, the potholing. Just to put this in perspective for what I'm about to tell you, I'll tell you first about something that happened a couple of days earlier. My car had gone for a service, and the two inner edges of the two front tyres had worn down, so I had to get them replaced, which I thought was strange because I hadn't had them done a huge amount of time ago. It had been about a year or so, and I hadn't done that much mileage. And it turned out that what was causing it was that the tracking was quite a way out. And when I asked the guy who fixed it about what could have knocked it out, he said potholes, speed humps, anything like that. And there's a lot of potholes around here. And then I did the fatal thing of looking my car up on the internet to see if it had any issues with it. And yes, there are, which I didn't know about. So after that, I thought, okay, it's fixed, I'm fine. Just have to be careful on the way down there. So obviously, on the way down there, when I got fairly close to my parents, I hit a fairly big pothole. And that was it. My OCD went, right, new obsession unlocked. It was like my brain was running a computer game, but the unlocks were not nice. Suddenly, I was worrying a little more about the house, but mostly about the car. Things like, what if the tyre goes flat? What if something falls off on the motorway when I'm doing 70 miles an hour? What if the car flips over and kills us all? All the things that go through your head, which obviously is something you don't want to be imagining while you're driving. Logic versus OCD. And the most frustrating thing about all this was the fact that my logic side of my brain knew everything was fine. The car felt normal, there was no warning lights on, and when I took it for a drive the next day, just to be sure, there was no abnormal sounds. But the problem is that the OCD doesn't care about that. And the OCD goes, but what if, on this, the logic is wrong about it? So I spent a lot of time at my parents' place worrying about the car. I was checking it. I was mentally replaying the pothole in my head like it was a slow-moving action scene. And then, of course, because of the car, I started worrying about the house. We've got a dripping tap at home in the kitchen. I had turned it off by the little stop valve underneath, so it wasn't dripping anymore. But in my head, it was, what happens if that pipe bursts and leaks water everywhere? You'd be flooded out. And the other thing was, in the conservatory where the tumble dryer is, the plug socket doesn't turn off at the moment. Now, I know in a lot of other countries, you've just got like a two-prong plug that plugs in and that's it, it's on. Here in the UK, the plugs are three-pronged and they have like a little switch next to it where you can turn the electricity on and off. And that was broken on the switch for the tumble dryer. It'd been like that for ages and it was fine, there was nothing wrong with it. But in my head, it was basically a ticking time bomb. Fire, destruction, news headlines, we're all gonna die. And this was all very specific, very dramatic and very OCD. Why this felt so strong? So I spent a lot of time at my parents worrying about the car and things at home, and that surprised me because I haven't done that this intensely for a while, and I genuinely think this is down to the fact that I've not been doing ERP for that long. Because when you stop doing the compulsions in the way that you used to, the OCD often gets louder before it gets quieter. It's like it's saying, hang on, you're not responding the way you usually do. Right, let's crank it up a bit. The journey home. And then the journey home just really finished things off. We had to take a detour because the M4 was shut and the sat-nav was showing us a different way to go. But I thought I knew better. I thought, I'm going to ignore that. I'll just go up and it'll tell us where to go on to the next junction. Yeah, It put an extra 3 hours on the journey because we got stuck in traffic in Reading near the turnoff. When I finally thought, okay, I'll follow the sat nav, of course, it took me down a whole load of unfamiliar roads. So, new roads, new uncertainty, which did absolutely nothing for my anxiety. The reality check. But when we got home, everything was fine. Nothing exploded, no flooding, no leaks. The car was completely okay. The tumble dryer hadn't exploded and wrecked the house. Yep, everything was fine, as usual. And that's a really frustrating thing about OCD. You only get the certainty after the anxiety has already taken its toll. So yeah, that was my experience. Not dramatic at all on the outside, but very, very dramatic on the inside. And if you're early into ERP and you notice that your OCD is flaring up in old and new ways, this doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. Quite often it means that you're doing something right. Your brain is adjusting, and that part is uncomfortable, but it is temporary. And if any of this sounded familiar to you, you're not failing, you're not going backwards, you're just learning to sit with uncertainty that your brain isn't used to, and that does get easier. So, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up as it helps other people with OCD find the channel. And if you want to see more videos about checking OCD and a calming on this way, please hit the subscribe button. So until the next time, take care, good luck with the ERP, bye, see you later.